Welcome to the Mom Needs a Moment podcast. We're your hosts, Chrissy
and Cindy,
co-founders of Her Health Collective.
We are two moms obsessed with revolutionizing the way moms take care of themselves. We are so glad you're here. Let's dive in.
We are not our thoughts. We can reprogram our brain to help us thrive. Mikki Gardner is a certified life coach trained to help women sort out the overwhelm, confusion, fear, and self-doubt they often feel after divorce. She's also certified in the conscious parenting method and applied positive psychology. Mikki focuses on helping moms move past their limiting beliefs, unravel the patterns of their past, and become strong, effective, loving parents. In part one of our conversation with Mikki, we explored the messiness of divorce and how to navigate co-parenting relationships with grace and intention while creating peace and staying grounded. Today, in part two, we dive into the act of reprogramming our brain to thrive and getting curious and asking questions about our own personal triggers. It's a great episode. We hope you enjoy. Mikki, on your website, you go on to say that you decided to choose yourself. And I love that. I love that sentiment so much because it's something, especially as women in our society, we are trained not to do. We 100%. Don't choose ourselves. We choose everyone else. So you underwent a huge transformation. And on your website, you dive into this, that it included adult summer camp. How fun. Amazing. I want to pick your brain about that after because sign me up. Yes. It led to you becoming a certified life coach. Through the work you now teach, you were able to let go of the painful stories you were holding on to from your past. And you authored a new story that was built on a foundation of self-love, worth, and confidence. Mm-hmm. You share that the reason you suffered so much was because of your brain. It was doing what the human brain does, keeping you stuck in the past, in fear as a means of survival. You learned that you were not broken. You just needed to reprogram your brain to serve you, to thrive. And I can't think of a single woman, myself included, that doesn't resonate with. Walk us through this. How do we reprogram our brain to serve us, to thrive? How does that reprogramming happen?
Yes, I did go to summer camp. I listened to a lot of podcasts, which I think, we are all fans of podcasts here, but I listened to one. It was actually the Good Life Project, which is still on with Jonathan Fields.
Love that one.
And and he had a summer camp and I had heard the ad a gazillion times. Have you ever wanted to be dropped into nature's playground, surrounded by people? Like it was this whole thing. And I'd heard it a gazillion times. And I'm walking my dogs at like 5:30 in the morning down the street. And I heard it. And he said, have you ever? And I was like, yes, I have. Yes, I do. I walked home, signed up. And a month later, and I did not enjoy summer camp as a child. I'll just put that out there. I ended up at a children's summer camp. We were in like bunks, like the full thing for the most incredible 48 hours of my life. There were so many little connections that happened, little things that really were pointing me in this direction. One of them was I sat through a talk about the neuroscience of happiness. And as someone who had really struggled with low-grade depression and anxiety for much of my life and was in a very unhappy place, I was like, okay, this is fascinating. So I ended up signing up and taking a 7-month course on applied positive psychology in New York. So I went once a month. I made all kinds of new friends. I learned about the brain and everything that was going on. And I was just like a sponge. I could not get enough. One of the most powerful things I learned, though, is that we are not our thoughts. And this sounds simple, but someone has to witness the thought to be able to recognize it. So who is it that hears the thought? You, meaning sort of where we started this, you, your soul, we're all cut from the same source. Like that source and soul, that is the one, that being is the one that witnesses the thoughts. So if I'm hearing them, then I'm not my thoughts. So I'm not actually the horrible person that I hear myself talking about. I'm not the awful, broken, not enough version of me, right? That's something that I hear being told to me. This distinction was mind-blowing for me. I remember it was in December, the workshop. I went home and I'm cooking I did all the cooking for my family after culinary school. So I'm making Christmas dinner. I'm telling my family about the brain. And I'm like, and you're not your thoughts. And I remember my sister staring at me and she's like, is this going to last a really long time with you? Or are you going to come back? No, dear sister, it's still going on. Right. But it was sort of this moment that I'm like, okay, Mikki, tone it down. Not everybody loves this as much as you do. But that was really the moment where I started to understand, if I'm not my thoughts and they're not necessarily true, what else isn't true? That is the start of being able to look at what are all of those things that have been layered on, whether it's culturally, religiously, from society, from the media, in our families, gender, race, all of these stories that we sort of just take on as identity. And then, as a card carrying people pleaser, I have all kinds of stories about what I have to do to be a good mom, to be accepted, to be loved. And once I started to understand what truly was going on and learning about my brain and learning how to manage it, now I teach my clients about the daily mental hygiene that we have to do. We brush our teeth every day, but we don't brush our brains every day. Like, we got to clean that up too. And learning those skills helps us separate, again, sort of create a buffer between who we truly are and our thoughts, the world, everything around us. That was really starting to learn that and be able to understand, again, what's happening in our brain, right? Because we all have the same wiring system. It's just a computer. It's pretty simple. It works the same in everybody's brain. And so once we learn sort of what's going on, we learn how to manage it differently. And that's where liberation and freedom comes from.
Wait. You left me hanging. How do I clean my brain? How do I clean it
how
out?
do you clean your brain? Okay. So there's lots of tools, right? Number one, the one that no one likes, but I'm going to say it, and I say it every day: meditation. Everyone thinks like, oh, Mikki, I'm not good at meditation. Well, the idea of meditation isn't to have no thoughts. The only time you don't have thoughts in your head is when you're dead, when your brain has stopped working. So that's not the goal. The goal is simply to be able to witness them, to be able to say, oh, I got lost in thought. Oh, there it was. Okay, come back to breath. Each time you catch yourself thinking, you just successfully meditated, because you caught the thought and you brought yourself back to the present moment. You brought yourself back to presence. When we bring ourselves back to presence, we are grounding ourselves into what is true, not what's going on around us. So that for me has been the biggest shifter in learning how to clean up my thinking, is really having a dedicated meditation practice, because it's like any muscle. It builds over time. And meditation really does create that boundary between you and everything that's happening, coming at you, or your thoughts, to give you that response time that you need. The other way is simply what we call thought downloads. So if you have something going on, maybe you're in an argument with someone, maybe you're feeling really stressed, really anxious about something, or you just wake up every day and do this. Take 5 minutes with a blank sheet of paper and write down every thought you have. Just fill the page up with all of them. Most of the time when you go back and read it, it is no wonder you feel like crap. With you're like, wow, right? All of that was in my brain. No wonder I'm feeling awful, because those are the thoughts that are just being recycled. We're like a fish in a fishbowl, and all our thoughts are the water. So if you tap on the tank and say, hey, how's the water? The fish is going to be like, what? What water? And that's how we are with our thoughts until we actually separate from them. And so just being willing to learn how to get them out of your head and onto paper helps you strengthen that ability to see more clearly. And that's a great mental hygiene exercise every day. So those are two.
Those sound amazing. You hear them a lot, meditate.
You do.
And
Yeah.
then journal is one that you hear a lot
Mhm.
as well, which sounds similar to what you were talking about.
So journaling, yes, is more of to me, asking and answering questions. I love to talk to my intuition or journal to it. And that's learning how to hear the voice inside. We have two voices. We have our ego voice. That's the one that's spewing at us like a fire hydrant 24/7. Or there's your intuition, which is more like a deep well that you have to go to the well, drop the bucket, and then pull all the way up, and then you see what's inside. And so journaling to me helps us get in touch with that voice that is sort of, again, our truth, our groundedness, and separate from the fire hydrant that just never stops. where the thought download is really just an active exercise to learn how to get what's out in your head onto paper, because then you can see it, right? It's like, it sort of helps you again, sort of build that muscle.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, you've talked to us about you being a certified life coach, and then you've taken us through, gosh, like Chrissy said, you've got all these little lives. So it's so interesting. Let's go to life in 2000.
Well, not little. They all were very big.
Yeah.
Big.
Very big. You've talked to us about applied positive psychology, where you're trained to help moms move past their limited beliefs, unravel the patterns of their past, and become strong, effective, loving parents. And you also talked about how this all came to you at the summer camp, which is so great.
I think that is really that point of curiosity. It was willing to do something so far outside my comfort zone just because I was curious, and it was giving myself permission to matter. I didn't know it at the time that that's what was happening, but I was simply allowing myself to matter. I was allowing myself to be relevant in my own life, because everything was about, the divorce at that time, my son. I was at that time traveling all over. We were doing events in and out of the country. So I was doing all of the things, but I didn't matter in my own life. What I wanted wasn't relevant and wasn't considered. And so it was the first time that I really did something completely outside the box for no other reason than I wanted to. And that allowed me again to, the applied positive psychology was fascinating, right? And I met so many great people, one of which, my friend Lisa, was a life coach. And I was like, what on earth is a life coach? Never heard of it, right? So then I went to life coaching school, and I was about to get certified there. And there was another one that was more interesting. And so I went and did that one, right? And then that eventually led me to becoming a conscious parenting coach, which just was zoom, right? Mind blowing. But it was this following the breadcrumbs. And I think as recovering people pleaser and perfectionist, you close yourself off because you have to know all the answers. And so what this one tipping point of summer camp did, I really started to step into, and I think that's kind of what divorce did. I have no idea what's going on. Everything I planned is like shot at this point. So what do I do now? And it was, I can keep going on this structured figuring it out and having to know all the answers, or I can just see where it leads me. That was the point where I started to learn to step into curiosity. And the more that I learned to support myself through all of these different tools and skills that I learned, I was able to do it more and more and more.
Something that I find so differentiating, I think, between what you're saying and perhaps myself, I'll use myself as an example. You seemed to just go with the feeling. Oh, life coaching sounds amazing. And you just signed up for it. You didn't really think too much about it. Or this summer camp. Oh, this is what I want to do. And you went home and you signed up for summer camp. For me, I let those thoughts come in and I'm like, well, I've got to find out someone to care for the kids. Oh, but what about finances? Oh, but is this realistic for me to go away for 4 days by myself? So, all of these different things. How did you overpower that? Is that just how you're made, that you were able to overlook it?
I suppose yes and no, right? We all have our traits and the sort of the way that we commonly interact. But I think that was one of the things that all I can say is it was like the illusion, everything I thought, it's like someone opened the curtain and I saw that everything I believed was no longer necessarily true. And so I think that's what sort of, when you go through whatever it is, nobody gets divorced for positive reasons, right? It's not like, ooh, let's try this. This seems fun, right? There's usually something has led up to it. And there is all of those broken feelings, all the shame and everything. And so do I have an element of risk taking? I think, yeah, probably I do. Ultimately, I think looking back, knew that I would figure it out, whether it was like the horse story. there's this part of me that like, I'm just going to figure it out. And so I was stepping into that more for the first time. And the more that I learned about the human brain, the more that I learned about life coaching and the tools and the skills, and I actually applied this in my own life, that's when I was able to really step in, because I knew that I could support myself through it. And so the feelings part, I'm still a reluctant feeler. I'd rather not feel all the bad stuff. That's actually required, because everything's a balance, right? And so if we want to have true joy and happiness and love and fulfillment, we actually have to be willing to have the opposite too. It's how do we learn to navigate that and support ourselves through it and heal and still allow ourselves to be okay. And that is sort of 8 years of lessons that I learn each and every day to continue on. And there's many ways to do it, right? And it's not just one way. We have to get all of the tools, right? I have many that I use to keep myself what I call level, feeling in a sort of good grounded place. And they all have to be working together. And I can be flexible with them and move around, but it's not just one thing. And that's what I hope that moms out there can hear, is there isn't going to be one magic pill. We have to figure out all the different things and what supports us and what doesn't. What are we willing to lean into? And, sort of what can we let go of?
To our Patreon supporters, thank you. We appreciate you so much. Our goal has always been for moms to know they're not alone in the tough and challenging phases of motherhood. We know Mama Needs a Moment provides this to our listeners.
We are thrilled with the growth of the podcast over the past 2 years. Last year, Spotify shared that Mama Needs a Moment was in the top 30% most followed podcasts, was heard in 9 countries, and had more content than 97% of other creators in the family category.
We have recently launched a Patreon account for Mama Needs a Moment. This is a great way for you to provide additional support to Her Health Collective.
We've set up 3 options for Patreon supporters, each with its very own perks, such as special events, discounts, and bonus content from each and every podcast guest that is available only to our Patreon supporters.
Will you become a Patreon supporter? It would mean the world to us.
So, as far as the conscious parenting method and the applied positive psychology, and even if we want to just throw in there risk-taking, where are some places that you could direct our listeners so that they can start digging deeper?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're listening to this conversation and it's sort of resonating with you, one of the things that I like to talk about is what are the things that we need to be able to do to build the foundation to be able to take those risks, to be able to dismantle the beliefs that are holding us back, because we don't even know what they are until we can start to do that. And so that's that building the foundation. And that's the sort of 3 steps of conscious co-parenting. You can also say the 3 steps of adulting, of conscious anything. It's really the awareness, the agency, and the aligned action. Because the more that we learn to do these 3 things, the more we learn to be in the present moment. And I have a masterclass that I'll be sharing at the end with your listeners, but this is really where we sort of learn to shift out of conflict and learning how to step into groundedness and calm, whatever that is, whether it's co-parenting, whether it's parenting, or just frankly, adulting. And learning how to manage your energy, whether that's mental, emotional, physical. We have to learn these skills to be able to do it. And we frankly live in a society that is telling us the exact opposite, right? I'm still amazed when the Amazon person comes and I just ordered something like 4 hours before.
Seriously,
How did it show up, right? And then I say to my child, like, oh, you're doomed. You're doomed. Like you think that everything just arrives, right? That Starbucks just boom, here it is, right? DoorDash.
Instant gratification. Yes.
So that's one of those moments where it's like, okay, we are living in this world that is so fast paced, where you're told you can have anything you want at any instant. And so really learning what's true and learning the skills to ground yourself to be able to navigate it. Because again, the world is just getting faster and faster. And that's not how we're wired. It's not how we're built. And so one of the most important things, and what I hope that when I do work with people and through the free masterclass that I teach, is figuring out what time zone am I in is one of the best questions you can figure out. Are you in the past? Because you can't change it. And you're probably taking all kinds of stories with you. Or are you in the future, which is really just worry? And worry is simply a prayer for more chaos in your brain. Or are you in the present moment? Because we've got to come back to the present moment, because this is where all of our power lies, right? We can't change the past. We don't know what the heck's coming, but we do, if we can live intentionally and aligned in this moment, that is your most powerful place to parent from, to adult from, to co-parent from. That's true power and liberation. And so that's what I hope people can learn, how to come back to the present moment.
Okay. So there is something I want to ask you real quick. You were saying stay in the present.
Mm-hmm.
But ironically, when you go to therapy, they're going to help you work through the past, because the past is affecting your present.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So let's say I've gone through lots of therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Chrissy said that she's in therapy. So let's say there's someone out there that hasn't begun going through their past to recognize it. I mean, that's also what conscious parenting is, right? It is understanding what in your past is affecting the present way that you are affected by your children's behavior,
right.
Essentially.
Yeah. So the way that I define conscious parenting or conscious co-parenting does not mean perfect parenting. It simply means that you are aware of what you were doing and why you were doing it, even if that awareness comes after the fact.
Okay.
That is being conscious as a parent, knowing what you're doing and why you're doing it. And this is the moment where, okay, we all get triggered, right? We get activated by things that happen. We might yell and react to things. But it's figuring out what was going on for me that created that reaction. If I had said 5 times to turn off the Xbox and he didn't turn off the Xbox, and then I lose my mind and start screaming and throw the remote away or whatever, it wasn't that the child didn't listen. It was what was brought up for me when that happened. When the child isn't listening, when the thing is happening and you feel all of those emotions just sort of coming up really fast, when we go from like 0 to full emotion in 0.2 seconds, it's always because there's an old wound being activated. It's like someone just poured the salt in it and boom, there it is.
Are you recommending that you stop and go back into the past and evaluate that?
What I'm saying is stop and take a breath when you're feeling triggered and aware, okay, I'm having a lot of emotion here. And then you ask, what am I feeling? What am I thinking right now? What's really making me mad? Okay, yes, my kid didn't listen. Well, why is that bothering me so much? What is going on? Just opening up the question to realize what is actually happening. And this is really challenging to do on our own. And that's why I think whether it's therapy or coaching or whatever, it's like we can't see the forest for the trees. That's what I see coaching, right? Or therapists to sit outside the forest and be like, okay, do you see the tree in front of you? It's like, you got to navigate this way and walk you out of it, because it's really hard to see on our own, not impossible, but challenging. And so that's why when we learn these tools, and yes, does everything go back to childhood? Usually there's always some past thing going on, but even there's newer wounds. Maybe you're reacting because you're really upset about the divorce and what you're going on, but you're taking it out on your children, or taking it out on that driver who cut you off in traffic, or whatever it is. So we've got to be aware of what we're doing and why we're doing it. Otherwise, we can't change. And so therapy is amazing, and I'm all for it. What I love about coaching is we also are taking where we are right now, understanding what's going on, but really the focus is, how do we move forward? How do we not continue to stay in this pattern? So some of it is that work to understand the connection to the past. And really, it's all about that aligned action moving forward. What are the choices that I actually have available to me? wishing something were different isn't a strategy, but understanding that I can either accept it, change it, or leave it. Okay. There's some power in that, understanding what I actually can do and then moving in that direction.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I love it. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
This was an amazing conversation, Mikki. You had so many amazing thoughts and suggestions, and this was really, really helpful. I'm very excited to share this with our audience.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
Well, Cindy and Chrissy, thank you so much, because you guys are willing to have these conversations, and the fact that you have a platform where you're offering it and talking with other women is so powerful. So thank you so much for what you do and being willing to have these conversations. Because I think how this world is going to change is us moms changing it, really stepping into who we are and our own power, so that we can change this world in the way that we want to.
Did you say that there was something that you wanted to mention to the guests?
One of the things that I would love to offer your guests is a step into what conscious co-parenting might look like. And I created a very short free masterclass. It's just about 25 minutes, but really to help you offer a new perspective, right? One that empowers you and helps you shift out of conflict and into that calm and confidence. So there is a very quick, simple masterclass. You guys can put it in the show notes, but it's really how to stop reacting, like we've talked about, which inevitably has us making decisions we'll regret, and honestly just creates more mess to clean up later, and learning how to take that full responsibility in your life. And so I teach the simple strategies to help you handle any chaos with confidence and grace. So if it's of interest, I hope that your listeners will sign up for that, because it's a fun, easy sort of first step in.
Count me
Sign
in.
me up. It sounds amazing.
Thank you, Mikki, so much.
Thank you, guys. It was such a pleasure.
It was such a pleasure speaking with Mikki. Here are my top 3 takeaways from part 2 of our conversation. 1, we've all heard how important meditation is. We all know it's something we should do regularly. I loved how Mikki said it was like brushing our brain. She's right. We don't go a day without brushing our teeth. Why would we not do the same for our brain? I also loved the concept of downloading our brain. And I love how she explained that that's different from journaling. I can see how it would be cathartic to release all our thoughts out onto paper, and then to be able to look back over them and note the negative thought loops and patterns that appear again and again. As Mikki said last week, it's only through awareness that we're able to make change. Being aware of those negative thought patterns is the first step to changing them. 2, our discussion around getting curious and asking questions resonated with me. I do often need to stop, breathe, and consider why I am responding in a certain way. I loved how Mikki pointed out that conscious parenting, conscious co-parenting, or conscious adulting isn't about getting it perfect. It's about building that awareness and taking back control over the reactivity. That's something I can get behind, and we'll still need to do a lot of work on. 3, I love Mikki's whole vibe around risk-taking and stepping outside of your comfort zone. I see a lot of parallels between myself and Mikki's approach to life. One thing that Mikki alluded to but didn't outright say is that it can be during those challenging periods of life that we are forced to step outside of our comfort zones, such as Mikki's divorce, such as the loss of her horse that we talked about last week. It's in those big life transitions, those moments of intense pain or hurt, that we look around and say, wait a minute, what am I doing here? It's much easier to become complacent when life is comfortable and you're in a rhythm of day-to-day demands. But I would argue that stepping outside of your comfort zone during those periods of complacency in life can have dramatic and far-reaching effects. So even if you're not facing some tragic life circumstance, get curious, explore, be daring, try something new. You never know what's right around the corner, and you deserve it. If you missed part 1 of our conversation with Mikki, be sure to go back and have a listen. as we discuss the 3 A's of conscious co-parenting. When mastered, these 3 A's can completely alter how you navigate life after divorce or separation, and really at any point in your life.
High five, friend. We've enjoyed hanging out with you. Follow us so you're the first to know when we drop a new episode.
If you've enjoyed your time with us, let us know by leaving a review. We always love hearing from you. Until next time, stay true to you.